Hello everyone, my name is Raymond Sayer. I'm representative of Miningscout, and today we have James here. He's the CEO of Element79 Gold Corp. Welcome to Munich, to this venue. And first question, can you introduce yourself? What is your background? Why did you join Element79? What's the rationale behind that?
Sure thing, thank you. My background is finance and banking, and I've been involved in the private capital markets as well as public capital markets for about the last decade of my career, and prior to that it was in banking and running a fund. I've always invested it in both private and public junior mining companies, as well as looking at royalty companies, etc. So when the opportunity came to me through some close trusted colleagues to participate as the CEO, I jumped on it. Fantastic opportunity.
When was that?
We only went public about a year ago, but the initial conversations happened about 2 years ago.
Okay.
As we built up towards the IPO.
Okay.
And since the IPO, it's been a really exciting ride where we've been going through a large M&A ladder, kind of bulking up the company.
Can you focus a little bit on that?
Absolutely, sure. The trajectory has been that we started with a great greenfield opportunity that was in a Tier 1 mining jurisdiction around Timmins, Ontario, and then we jumped to acquire a district-level opportunity for exploration in northern British Columbia. That project's called Snowbird. We haven't closed that acquisition yet, but that's on the books for somewhere in the next kind of 3 to 6 months. In addition to that, we then jumped to, again, focusing on a Tier 1 jurisdiction. We acquired a package of 16 properties in and around Elko, Nevada, which is
that was all financed through the IPO, or how did it work?
The financing for that happened using an equity line drawdown,
okay.
And that package was acquired with, this was December 23rd of 2021, where we closed on the acquisition with $2 million cash. We paid $6 million of total consideration in shares at that time.
Okay.
And we're working with the counterparty, which is Waterton Global Asset Management. We're working with them to create a structure to complete the payment, which is due at the end of December. So we're looking at different alternatives given the capital markets at this time.
And these are all gold companies or gold projects, or?
Most of them are gold forward. Our focus as a company is gold and silver. And our next part of the M&A ladder, and this is the final, I'll call it the terminus for the time being, we focused on a friendly jurisdiction where it's easy to permit and move forward with actually getting to extraction and production. Okay?
Right.
So with that, just as of the end of June of this year, we closed on the acquisition of 2 high-grade, previously producing gold mines. They're actually gold and silver, and one is polymetallic, in Peru.
Oh,
and the
so
exciting part.
Going international.
We have gone international. We have the linguistic skills and we have the cultural skills to do it. The move into Peru was actually twofold. It was first and foremost to get to a friendly jurisdiction where we could get to production, but along with that, our COO Antonios, he was actually the CEO of this private company.
Okay.
So by acquiring that, we absorbed him in full time. So now we have all of his focus on just our projects.
Okay.
And he had spent about 16 to 18 months in Peru prior to that acquisition, understanding the whole lay of the land, who the different counterparties are down there, consultants, who the big players are, and making sure that we had all the permitting in place.
Understand the market more or less.
Understand the market, make sure we had the right permits in place,
right.
And work out the social contract, which is an important facet as well.
So what kind of challenges do you see in Peru, and what kind of opportunities do you see there?
I think the biggest opportunity is the fact that they have a small-scale mining permit, which these 2 mines have, and it allows us to produce up to 350 tons per day. The opportunity is that, as far as the public markets go right now, no one else is using permits at that scale.
Yeah.
Whereas for a small junior to get to cash flow, A, in the short term, as well as B, it may not sound sexy compared to a Barrick or a Kinross or a Nevada Gold Mines in terms of what they're actually producing. But in relative terms, for us as a junior, if we're producing at 150 to 350 tons per day, that produces positive free cash flow, which not only covers our SG&A, but it also helps us then reinvest that money. It gives us the opportunity to generate non-dilutive cash flow, so we don't have to keep diluting by capital raise and capital raise. We can then sink that back into the ground and expand our resources.
Okay. And if we look at 23, what kind of projects do you focus on, and what kind of news flow can the investor expect from your side?
Thank you. As I mentioned, we've kind of bulked up as an M&A group, acquiring all of these properties. And what we're moving into now is that we're actually starting to trim down. So like a bodybuilder bulks up first and then trims down. It's showtime, we have to trim down and focus ourselves. So number one, you're going to see that the news really includes that we're restarting marketing, to stimulate further market understanding of where we're going, that will facilitate capital raising. In addition to that, we're going to be selling some of the properties. We're going through kind of pre-LOI stages with a couple different groups that are looking at purchasing groups of properties from us, both in Nevada, Canada, as well as maybe, depending on how one of these conversations go, maybe a minority joint venture interest sale of a portion of one of the properties to expand that resource. In addition to that, obviously getting our main focus this year is getting to cash flow. We believe that within the next 6 to 12 months, permits are in place, social contracts are arranged, and we just have to finalize those. But then the last point of which is that let's get to cash flow. Let's start reporting actual ounces produced and run on from there. It's a very exciting proposition.
Of course it is. And probably one of the final questions. Management is quite crucial for companies of the size of yours. Could you talk a bit about your management structure?
Thank you. Yes. I'm personally a firm believer of the fact that the true assets of any company go home in the elevator every night. And more than any other asset, that we could say that we have a great project in a tier 1 jurisdiction and a resource I can point to, those are nice things. But if you don't have the right people that can manage those projects responsibly, then I've heard it said this way, that if you have a mediocre team and a great project, you can still fail. If you have a great team and a mediocre project, you can excel.
Right.
And our team itself, again, I've spoken to my background. Our COO, Antonios Maragakis, number one, he comes from a pedigree of working inside some of the global majors like Barrick, Freeport, McMoran, El Dorado, and he's worked on multi-billion-dollar projects on a global basis. He's now 100% working on our projects. In addition to that, he runs a consultancy, a mining consultancy group called Mine Plus Group. They have 32 people working inside there, so we have a lot of horsepower behind the scenes to help bring our project to fruition. Mine Plus itself right now has over $2 billion of projects under their wings, and that's obviously going to grow as we grow. That's very exciting. In addition to that, we also have our VPX, Kim Kirkland. This is a gentleman who over the last 20 odd years has spent the vast majority of that focused on producing mines in Peru. Speaks the language, understands the nuances of being down there because he spent the last 20 years there. And it's a very exciting proposition to turn these small-scale mines into production with people like this on the team.
Okay. Probably the last question, as you are an insider more or less on natural resources, what are your thoughts about gold prices at current levels and gold prices probably 1 year from now or 2 years from now?
I think there's, speaking of the actual produced value that's out there, there's a bit of scarcity out there. Number one, I think the price is low and it's a great opportunity to buy. I've read many articles in the recent past about there's a lot of the flow of the physical product going from the west to the east. And even right now, if you were to go to a Kitco or something like this type site and look to buy a gold round or a silver at $19 an ounce right now, that round, the minting capacity is another bottleneck, but that round is going for $40+ today because there's so much demand from the market. People are trying to find a counterpoint to what's happening in their economies. So with that demand, not even speaking of industrial demand, but just the currency demand is there, and also the bottleneck of being able to mint and the purification process, that will be a bottleneck to bring more online. So I think that just means that scarcity is going to drive price in the future.
Okay.
So
thank you very much, James. all the best for the future. Looking forward to see you next time here in Munich or anywhere else.
I look forward to that opportunity as well. Dankeschön.
Wish you all luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.